Okay, so welcome back. In this lesson, we're going to be continuing our study of the secrets of understanding Pentecostal and gospel music. So in this lesson, we're going to cover several things, but the main thing that I do want to start covering with you is, and of course by now, as we discussed in lesson 1, your goals were to go and play every single major scale, play those once daily using the correct fingering. So by now you should know all of the major scales and be able to play them over at least one octave using the correct fingering. So, for instance, you'll know that the notes in the key of C are just C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. You'll also know that the notes in the key of D flat are D flat, E flat, F, G flat, A flat, B flat, C, D flat. Okay, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D. And we're not going to go through each one, but you understand what these scales are. You've played them, you've practiced them, and you have an understanding of what notes are in what key. So that was one thing you were supposed to practice. Now, what we're going to do in this lesson is I want to actually go through and start teaching you to recognize different movements. Okay, so what we're going to start off with is very basic movements. Your basic movements in music, and of course we remember the Roman numeral system, which is very basic. It's easy to learn. You're just giving a note to each number in the you're giving a number to each note in the major scale. So, for instance, in the key of C, C is your 1. It's the first note of the scale. D is your 2. E is 3. F is 4. G is 5. A is 6, and B is 7. In the key of D flat is 1. Because it's the first note of the scale. E flat's 2, second note of the scale. F is 3, G flat's 4, A flat is 5, B flat is 6, and C is 7. Okay, now pretty much when you learn a song or when you play a song, 90% of the time the first chord is going to be the 1 chord, is going to be the root chord. So when you start the song off, if you're playing a song in the key of C, most likely you're going to start off with a C. And likewise, whatever key you're in, you're also going to end on the 1 or on the root. So you'll notice Amazing Grace, for instance, was blind, but now I see. You might even hear an extended ending. Was blind, but now I see. And it resolves. So you resolve and go back to the 1 chord. And even starting the song off. Amazing Grace. You're starting off on the 1 chord. Okay, so this happens all the time. This is something that's very common, and it's just how music works. You typically will start on the root chord. You'll typically finish on the root chord. Now that helps us out a lot because most of music, your movements are going to be going 2 places. Okay, the first main movement that you'll see in music is from the 1 chord to the 4 chord. Music likes to move in what we call fourths. So the 1 chord to the 4 chord. There you go, C to F. Okay, if you're in the key of C, you go to F, which is your 4 chord. All right, if you're in the key of D flat, we're going to go through all the keys right here. If you're in the key of D flat, your 4 chord is the 4th note of the scale, G flat. Okay, let's go back to the 1 to end it. If you're in the key of D, your 4 chord is G. Okay, E flat, your 4 chord is A flat. Wrong notes already here, just major chords, goodness. Alright, in the key of E, your 4 chord is A. You're in the key of F, your 4 chord is B flat. You're probably starting to hear the sound by now. In the key of G flat, your 4 chord is B. In the key of G, your 4 chord is C. In the key of A flat, 4 chord is D flat, and we generally call the black notes by their flat name, not their sharp name in gospel music. In the key of A, your 4 chord is D. In the key of B flat, your 4 chord is E flat. In the key of B, your 4 chord is E. And we're back to C. Okay, so particularly when you hear a movement going up, it usually goes to the 4 chord. So that's a giveaway that you're going to the 4 chord. We're going to discuss some other ways that are giveaways that you know and you can hear that they're going to the 4 chord as well. But that is 1 to 4, probably the most common movement just about in music. One song you can think about that does this is Amazing Grace. Amazing Grace, amazing grace, how sweet the sound. Okay, no matter what key you're in, it still starts off 1 to 4. Okay, see the key of F. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound. Okay, 1, 4, 1. Right, very common movement. So that's the first movement that you want to recognize and that you want to memorize in every single key. In fact, it would be a good idea now, if you don't have a firm handle on this, to pause the video and go through and play all of your 1 to 4 movements. Okay? So now let's do the same thing, but now we're going to examine the second, arguably the first. I'm not saying we do one of these more than the other, but the second of the top 2 most common movements in music. And that's going to be the 1 to the 5. Okay? So the 1 chord to the 5 chord generally has kind of a down sound, as opposed to the 1 to the 4, which generally has kind of an up sound. Okay? That's one way to recognize the difference between the two. You're kind of just going to have to play them and practice them, and eventually you will start memorizing them. I like to relate them to songs. Like I said, 1 to 4 sounds like Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound. It sounds like the sweet Amazing Grace. As opposed to, you could think of 1 to 5, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, 1 to 5. You could also think of Here I'm the Worship, Light of the World. There's a lot of different songs you could think of for that. Those are just a couple. So let's go over all the 1 to 5 movements, playing these, this progression, this movement. All right. So in the key of C, we go C to G, which is our 5, back to the 1. In the key of D flat, we're going to go to A flat, okay, which is our 5. In the key of D, we're going to go to the key of A, which is our 5, and then back to D. Key of E flat, we're going to go to B flat, which is our 5, and then back to E flat. In the key of E, we're going to go to the B, which is our 5, back to E. Okay, in the key of F, we're going to go to the C, which is our 5, and then back to F. The key of G flat, we're going to go down to D flat, which is our 5, back to the root chord. The key of G is going to go down to D. Key of A flats, we're going to go down to E flat. Key of A, you're going to go down to an E. Key of B flat, you're going to go down to an F. Key of B, you're going to go down to a G flat or an F sharp chord, and then we're back to C. Okay, now this also works for inversions. You hear how it kind of has the same sound, 1 to 5, 1 to 4 here. Still has the same sound, it's a little bit different inversion. Okay, so what you're listening for, of course, is the overall movement, but in particular, if you really had to figure it out, you can stop and you can listen to either the bass note, or you can play the melody note, or you can just play, if you know what key it's in, or if you figured out what key it's in, you can figure out the overall sound. Okay, is that right? Does this go with the song? If you're trying to figure out a song that you're listening to, that's one way you can do it. Okay, so that's a couple of basic movements. You need to practice those probably daily, at least once a day, until you really get them concrete and solid in your head. Now there are, of course, other places, other movements in music as well, and we could go over, each one of these Roman numerals and the different sounds. But I kind of have some particular progressions that I want to teach you. And I really want to kind of zone in and focus here on going from the 1 to the 4 and going from the 1 to the 5, because those are your 2 most important movements. So if you can master those 2 movements, you have pretty much mastered everything with Roman numerals. Some people think that Roman numerals are really tough, and some people don't see the point in learning them. But they are extremely, extremely valuable. They're priceless to be able to apply to your playing. I was speaking to a gentleman just earlier about how important they are as far as when you need to move a song to a different key. You know, a lot of times in church, what happens, or a lot of times when you're maybe just worshiping, you're playing a song in one key, and you want to kind of, you know, pair two songs together. So, you know, say you wanted to go from I Give Myself Away, which is in B flat, to Here I'm to Worship, which is originally in F. That's just an example. Some people sing Here I'm to Worship in B flat. But the song leader doesn't want to stop the music, okay? So your church sings I Give Myself Away in B flat. Here I'm to Worship, you sing in F. The song leader wants to make a transition in the middle of church, in the middle of song service, from I Give Myself Away to Here I'm to Worship on the spot, on the fly. Okay, that is going to be tough for you if you don't know your Roman numerals, because, okay, you've got B flat, I Give Myself Away memorized, and you've got F, Here I Am to Worship memorized. So how are you going to transition Here I Am to Worship into the key of B flat on the fly? If you don't know Roman numerals, it is literally almost impossible to do. But if you do know them, it's easy because you know Here I'm to Worship is just a straight, you know, 1 to 5/7, 1/3 to 4. So you just apply those numbers to the key of B flat. 1, 5/7, 1/3, 4. And it's easy. And that, of course, that concept can apply to anything. That's one reason it's so important to know the Roman numerals. The other reason is if you don't know them, okay, I'm teaching you how to recognize 1 to 4 here. If you didn't know these numbers, you would literally have to memorize every single movement that there is in every single key. So what you're doing is you're learning 12 different movements because there's 12 different keys for 1 to 4, because you're having to memorize C to F, how that sounds. You're having to memorize G to C, how that sounds. You're having to memorize A to D, how that sounds. Instead of just being able to say, okay, this is 1 to 4, it's one basic title that encompasses 12 different movements and makes it a lot easier to understand. Hopefully that makes sense to you. Okay, so let's look at a couple more ways, because there are some really cool giveaways that teach you, and you can hear, and you can be like, okay, I know that that's going from the 1 to the 4 or the 1 to the 5. Obviously, the one we just learned is called straight there. So we went straight from 1, straight to 4. We went from straight from 1, straight to 5. That was a straight movement. Now, sometimes we have movements, though, where we go from 1 to 1/3 to 4. Okay? Now, at this point in the game, because we're going to be teaching you how to memorize and how to recognize different chords in the right hand, at this point in the game, it doesn't matter whether you're going 1 to 1/7/3 to 4, you're still hearing that general movement. Okay? But this is a common way we get from to the 4 chord. We go 1, 3, 4. But what we're doing is in our right hand, we're playing 1/3. So we're playing C over E into 4. So your right hand's not really changing. But this song sounds kind of like Amazing Grace again. Okay? Okay, so that's 1 to 1/3 to 4. That's a common progression. You hear that 1/3 to 4 all the time. Very common movement. Let's go through that in every single key. Okay, so here's key of C. It goes C to C over E to F. Here's the key of D flat. D flat. D flat over F is your 1/3 to 4, which is G flat as we learned. Okay. Key of D. D to D over F sharp to G. Okay, the key of E flat. E flat. E flat over G. A flat. All of these exercises can also be played with suspended 2 chords in the right hand. Okay. E over G sharp to A. Key of F. F over A. B flat. Okay, key of G flat, G flat, G flat over B flat to B, key of G, G, G over B to C, okay, A flat over C, D flat, A over C sharp to D, B flat over D to E flat, and finally B to D sharp to E. Okay, so that is all your 1 to 1 over 3 to 4 movements. So if you hear a movement where it's going up, but it's not quite going to the 4 chord, you can pretty much guarantee that that's going from the 1 to the 3 to the 4. You get me? So you can tell that the movement's going up, which is a general indication, a good sign that it's going to the 4 chord, because the 4 chord has an up sound. If it was going to the 5 chord, it would be some kind of down sound, and we'll show you that here in a second as well. So dead giveaway 1 to 3 to 4. Now that 4 chord pretty much is going to be a major chord pretty much all the time. You know, whether it's an F major, F2, F major 7, F major 9, whatever it may be, you know, it's going to be some kind of major chord. 1 chord, same thing. 1, you know, suspended 2, C2 chord, maybe a C7 chord. You know, not a whole lot of stuff it can be. The 3, however, is going to be pretty much always C over E. It could also be an E minor. You know, hear him, Surround Me, O Lord. Surround me, oh Lord. So you went from 1 to your minor 3 to your 4. That's another good movement to practice because you hear that a lot as well. So those are going to be your main 2 chords that you're going to play on the 3. So you're probably a good idea to go through and practice the 1 to the minor 7 to the 4 as well. We can do that real quick. So D flat, F minor 7, G flat, okay, D, F sharp minor 7, G, E flat, G minor 7, A flat, E, A flat minor 7, A2 or A, F, A minor 7, B flat, G flat, B flat minor 7, B, G, B minor 7, C, A flat, C minor 7, D flat, A, C sharp minor 7, D, B flat, D minor 7, E flat, and finally B, E flat minor 7, E. Okay? So those are going to be 2 really important movements for you to memorize going from the 1 to the 4. One movement that you hear going from the 1 to the 5, and generally you'll hear this when you hear 2 walk downs. For instance, with the 1 to 3 to 4, obviously there's 2 walk ups. But a common chord that we hit before the 5 chord a lot is the minor 6. Okay, so the key of C, your 6 is A. We know that because we've played all of our major scales and memorized all of them. Or if you don't remember, you can count it up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so 1, 6, 7. Now, if you hear a progression where it's not quite going, it's going down, but it's not quite going all the way to the 5 chord, could be a 6 chord. And it's a good idea to memorize. What this exercise helps you with too, is it's going to help you memorize that 1 to the minor 6 sound as well, which is another important movement that we're going to also cover. Okay, so but for now, we're using it as a stepping stone to get to the 5 major chord. So 1, minor 6 to G, here 5. So C to A minor to G. Okay, the key of D flat, D flat, B flat minor 7, or B flat minor to A flat. So D flat, B flat minor, A flat. Of course, it goes without saying that you could use a minor 7th there. D, B minor, A, E flat, C minor, B flat, E, D flat minor, B, F, D minor, C, G flat, E flat minor, D flat, G, E minor, D, A flat, F minor, E flat, A, F sharp minor to E, B flat, G minor, F, and then finally B, A flat minor, G flat. Okay, now that's a real common movement there, so you want to be sure to memorize. Be sure to memorize that. Here's a quick example for you, and what this does too is these exercises are not just teaching you these movements, but as we discussed before, each number in the major scale that we have given a Roman numeral to is like a person that you're meeting, that you want to become familiar with the sound of their voice. Okay, well, that might sound a little weird, but you know the sound of a person's voice that you hear every day. For example, if you hear your mother's voice every day, you can be in a crowd, you can be in the middle of a room full of people, and you can hear her voice, and you know, hey, that's Mom. Same thing with your father. If you have a father, you hear his voice every day. You can hear his voice in the middle of a crowded people, and you can recognize, hey, you know, that's my dad. That's my this is my best friend. Example could go on and on. Same thing here. So even though you might not see this exact progression in a song, you're still going to start recognizing the voice of the 1 chord, the voice of the 4 chord, the voice of the 5, the voice of the minor 6 chord, because you're going to get familiar with them. So, in other words, you know, the song "My God is Awesome," or maybe I should do a common one. "Our God is an awesome God." Nah, that's kind of a tough one. It's in a minor key. If you do the "My God is Awesome," it goes. We actually sing it in E, but we'll do it in C for an easy sake. So it goes, "My God is awesome. He can move mountains." See, 1 to 5 there, right? "Keep me in the valley." All right, you just went to the minor 6. Now notice you did it out of order here, but you probably, if you just went through this exercise with me and even played it by yourself a few times, you probably recognized that minor 6 right there that I just played, because you just heard it played in every single key. It's really, really important that you do this because it's going to start training your ear. All right, so "My God is awesome. He can move mountains." 5 chord. "Keep me in the valley." There's your minor 6. Very recognizable right there. Okay? Now, that's one way that you can learn to memorize chords. And that's one way you can move to the 5 chord when you're playing. So you've got 1 over 3 to 4. Okay, if you hear 2 walk-ups, you know that's a giveaway that you're going to the 4 chord. If you hear 2 walk-downs, pretty good indication that you're going to the 5 chord, most likely to the 6 to the 5. Okay, let's go over another movement here. One more for the 4 chord and 1 more for the 5 chord. That hopefully is going to help you out a lot, and it's going to be really cool because after we get done with this, we've actually used every single chord in the major scale. So let's go over. This one is going to be, you know, last time we went over 1 to 1 over 3 to 4. This one's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now we're not doing it like this. You know, it sounds like that old song. We all need somebody to lean on. And you definitely don't want somebody to think that you're playing that song because it's a very recognizable tune, and they're going to start probably laughing at you. You know, I'm kidding here, but what you want to do is the same thing. When you get to the 3 chord, do the 1 over 3. Okay, that's typically most progressions, anyways. Most songs do not go 1, minor 2, minor 3, 4. You just don't hear that a whole lot. Instead, you're going to hear 1, minor 2, 1 over 3 to 4. Okay, so we're really only adding 1 more chord here. We're adding the minor 2. So we're starting off with a major 1, C major, going to D minor, going to C over E, and going to your 4, which is F. So okay, sounds very basic, but that's a very important progression. This is a dead giveaway. Whenever you hear this, you know that it's going to the 4 chord. Dead giveaway. And you'll hear this progression a lot, maybe in different ways. hear that a lot in like Southern style. So what we basically did there is we kept our pinky on C, but we just did C, D, E, F in the left hand, and in the right hand we did with our thumb E, 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 F, G, A. Actually ended on an F right there. Okay, so that's the easy progression. 1, minor 2, C over E, 4. Okay, let's do it in D flat. So we're going to do 1, minor 2, 1 over 3, 4 in every key here. So D flat, E flat minor, D flat over F, G flat. Okay. D, E minor, D over F sharp, G. Key of E flat, F minor, E flat over G, A flat. Okay. Key of E, F sharp minor, E flat over G sharp, A. Key of F, G minor, F over A, B flat. Okay, G flat, A flat minor, G flat over B flat, B. Back to G flat. Okay, G, A minor, G over B, C. All right. A flat, B flat minor, A flat over C, D flat. Okay, A, B minor, A over C sharp, D. B flat, C minor, B flat over D, E flat. Back to B flat. Okay. B, C sharp minor, B over D sharp, E. End on B. Okay. So that's playing that progression in every single key. Those are going to be your 3 most common ways that you're going to get to the 4 chord in playing with chords. You're going to have 1, you're going straight there, 1 to 4. You're going to have 1 to 1 over 3 to 4. You're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are going to be your 3 most common ways that you get to the 4 chord. And that's not saying those are the only ways, but those are probably the 3 most common ways that we get there. There's many other ways we can get there. Now that's not to say that they're always going to be in that progression either. It could be different rhythm, different movement. But like I said, you're going to start to recognize the voices here. And of course, on that 2 chord, that could be played with a minor 7th as well, which, as if you've taken my AP 101 course, you probably have heard me harp about how, we don't want to do plain major and minor chords. We want to use 7ths, minor 7ths especially. So that sounds a lot better, as you can hear when you do that. All of a sudden, it's gotten a lot fuller by using that minor 7 on the 2. So you could go back through and practice the progression like that. Practice it also with the maybe some different inversions. Get them down good in different inversions. Very, very, very important progressions. Play them maybe in different rhythms. And even if you are, even in your playing, pay attention and start recognizing some of these movements. Okay? Now let's look at the way that we can go to the 5 chord, the extra way. So we've already looked at straight there. We looked at 1, 6, 5. Now we're going to look at 1, 7, 6, 5 in the left hand. But the right hand on the 7 chord is going to play your 5 chord. Okay, very, very common in church and Pentecostal gospel music. Play the 5 chord over the 7 in the bass. Okay. So this movement's kind of similar to the other one, but it's... So what we basically did is we went 1, 5 over 7, minor 6, 5, and then back to the 1. In other words, C, G over B, A minor, and then G. It kind of sounds like The Blood by Andre Crouch. For it reaches to the highest mountain. I did the same movement there, but I did it backwards. I went going up instead of just going down. All right, so let's go ahead and practice all of this movement in every single key here. So here's D flat, A flat over C, B minor, A flat. Okay, D, A over C sharp, B minor, A, back to D. E flat, B flat over D, C minor, B flat, back to E flat. Okay, E, B over D sharp, C sharp minor, B, back to E. Alright, we're going to do F, C over E, D minor, C, F, G flat, D flat over F, E minor, E flat minor, D flat. So G flat, D flat over F, E flat minor, D flat, back to G flat. Okay, G, D over F sharp, E minor, D. Okay, A flat, E flat over G, F minor, E flat, back to A flat. Okay, A, E over G sharp, F sharp minor, E, back to A. B flat, F over A, G minor, F, back to B flat. Okay, B, G flat over B flat, A flat minor, G flat, back to B, and that's all of them. All right, so those are the three most common ways we get to the 5 chord. Now, what we did is, once again, we had straight there, 1, 5, 1. We had 1, 6, 5, which gives 2 walk downs, and then we had 1, 5 over 7, minor 6 to 5, which gives 3 walk downs. Okay, now what we've done here is pretty phenomenal. Let me just break it down for a second because we're out of time. This video is already half an hour long. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to show you. We've actually played every single chord that can be found naturally playing in a song. These are the majority of chords that are used. Probably 90% of songs use just these chords. Maybe 80%, somewhere around. What I'm saying is the majority of them do. I haven't done any statistical analysis here, but what you have here is you're going to start recognizing these numbers as voicings. You're going to start recognizing their voices. You know, for example, you're going to start seeing them now that you're aware of them in songs that you're playing. It's going to give you an understanding of what you're actually doing. It's going to help you to be able to play songs in any key that you want, and of course, we're going to actually teach you how it helps you in relation to fills, runs, playing by ear, and many, many, many other different things. Okay, so let's look at the song When I Think About the Lord. In the key, we'll do it in the key of C. I usually have it in E flat, but when I think about the Lord, how He saved me, how He raised me, how He filled me with the Holy Ghost, how He healed me to the uttermost. Do you see what we did? We just played all of those chords that we just learned, just in a different order. We did the 1, 5 over 7, minor 6, 5, 4, 1 over 3, minor 2. That's why it's so important. Another song is the Andre Crouch song, Jesus is the Answer. Jesus is the answer for the world today. Above Him there's no other. Jesus is the way. What we just did here is, it was really the same movement, but it's 1, 5 over 7, A minor, here's minor 6, 5, 4, 1 over 3, minor 2, and then the 5, and then back to the 1. So what you've just learned here is pretty life-changing for your music, because now you've got the power to start actually getting a basic understanding of what it is that you're doing. And I can't say it enough, I'm so excited about this course. I really feel like it's going to change a lot of people's playing and the way that they view their music. So go through and practice these things that we've just given you, because we've just given you the tools to play songs in every single key. If you'll really practice and really get these concepts down. And really, too, like I said, you're going to start understanding, and you're going to start recognizing these different chords when you hear them in songs, because all of a sudden, that playing off of a chord sheet that just says C to A minor, F to G to C, all of a sudden it's no longer that, but now it's alive. They're like old friends. You've got your 1, your minor 6, your 4, your 5. Now you recognize that when the choir leader says modulate, you're not so worried because you know that you got this. So, alright, this is lesson 2, and we'll see you back here for your next lesson. God bless.